Tato, do you happen to have any questions for me?
Yeah, I got a few questions for you.
Awesome, let's have them.
All right, from G. Wills. His question was about the Great Commission churches and Edge Venture. He said a friend of his and him think that they are a cult and want to find a way to expose more harmful aspects of them, and they wanted any advice on how to approach the situation.
Okay, what was the name of it again?
It was Great Commission churches and Edge Venture.
And Edge Venture, huh? Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard of this before. Okay, let me take a look at it. It says Great Commission Churches is a fellowship of independent evangelical Christian churches. The Great Commission Church movement began in the U.S. in 1970. Other associated organizations include Great Commission Ministries, Great Commission Latin America, so on and so forth. So their focus is planting and building churches. Yeah, I've never heard of this before. I might have to take a closer look at this. Seems pretty interesting. I will take a closer look at that and see what it has to say. Do you have another question for me?
Sure do. From Gabe. What's the best way to get through someone's religious mindset? I wanted to help someone, but their religious beliefs got in the way.
How do you help somebody through a religious mindset? I have 2 videos on my channel called How to Deprogram a Religious Extremist, parts 1 and 2. And in those videos, I basically talk about this whole method of getting people to understand where you're coming from and try to find common ground with them so that they can relate to your position. The whole key behind it is to prevent them from putting that guard up. Because the moment they put that guard up, the moment that they think that you're against them in any way, the conversation's over. They're just not interested in taking part, and they're going to try to prove you wrong from that moment on. So the trick is to keep them from thinking that you're against them in any way. Don't make yourself into an enemy. Come at it like you're a friend, like you want to work with them and figure it out together. You want to figure things out together. Ask them questions. Ask them how they know what they know. It's a modified method of Socratic reasoning. I would suggest you watch those videos because I go into more detail in it in those videos than I can here. But that's the general idea behind it. So anyway, do you have another question for me?
Yeah. Emily was asking, would you ever do a video regarding religious homeschooling and the effects it has on children?
Yeah, I have actually. It's been a long, long time since I've done a video on that. Maybe I should do another, but it was actually a collaboration with Godless Engineer, probably over a year ago, I'd say, because he went to a Catholic school for a really short time. I think he went to a Catholic school for like a year, 2 years or something like that when he was in elementary school, but I got his experience with Catholic school, and of course I was homeschooled for religious reasons in many ways, and it was kind of a religious basis for everything, and it was ugly. It was just ugly. And honestly, it wasn't even as bad for me as it is for other people. Some people have an entirely religious curriculum. It's just not good at all. And another thing about homeschooling, a lot of the time kids don't get the socialization that they need. It's so extremely important to have socialization when you're a kid. I didn't, and a lot of others don't either. A lot of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses are dealing with the results of being separated from society. People don't realize how intensely Jehovah's Witnesses try to keep their children away from the rest of society, if at all possible. It's a problem. So I don't think that homeschooling is ever justified. Maybe some fringe exception, some crazy fringe case that would justify homeschooling. Like maybe this kid is so immunocompromised that the moment they enter a room with somebody else, they instantly are under threat of death because of it or something. I can understand cases like that, but socialization is extremely important and undervalued, and I think the vast majority of kids should be going to public school. Do you have another question for me?
For sure. Niv Mizal just asked, what do you think about the Atheist Experience?
I learned a lot of what I know from the Atheist Experience. I used to love that show. I've watched every episode up until a certain point. I stopped watching it after a while, just because I kind of lost interest. But I learned a lot about logic and fallacies and all kinds of stuff like that from the Atheist Experience. And it was one of my motivations for starting my channel in some ways. And I know they've been going through a lot of controversy and drama lately with a lot of different things, but honestly, the ACA and the Atheist Experience are run by 100% legit people, and they're doing their best. And I respect the hell out of all of them. Matt Dillahunty, Jamie Boone, Eric Murphy, all of them. I respect all of them. And so I would 100% endorse the show and the ACA. I think it's a really good group of people. Do you have another question for me?
Cass was asking, how do you feel about children being brought up by same-sex couples?
I've noticed that Cass has asked me a few questions in the Ask Telltale channel on my Discord. They seem to ask a lot of questions pertaining to my position on LGBT issues. I will just give you a blanket answer right here. With any questions that you have regarding LGBT issues, I almost certainly side with the LGBT community. There's absolutely no reason why anybody should be denied adopting children or having children or whatever based on their orientation. Period. That's full stop. There's no reason anybody should be denied any kind of rights, marriage rights or anything, based on what they want to do in a bedroom with another consenting adult. That's the bottom line for me. That's as far as I need to go with it. I probably agree with you, Cass, on just about everything on these issues. 100% in support of the LGBT community, bottom line. So anyway, do you have another question?
For sure. Vanceman had just asked, have you seen or heard of a channel called Theramintrees? And if so, what was your opinion on them?
I have not. And actually, I see what they're saying here. He deals in psychological and religious topics concerning psychology. I've not heard of that. That sounds interesting to me, but no. I kind of brand myself as a psychology channel a little bit because I talk about the psychology behind cults and religions in general, that kind of thing. And I don't really want to, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to cast a wide net that kicks people out of my content because I talk about something they don't like. I feel like we can all get on board with the fact that cults are ugly and damaging, and we can all get on board with talking about how they do what they do so that we can all avoid it. Pagan, Christian, Muslim, doesn't matter who you are, we can all understand and work against extreme mindsets. So that's kind of where I sit with that kind of thing. As far as psychological and religious topics go, that sounds pretty interesting. I'll have to take a look at them. I'm not sure that I would endorse them without watching them, of course, but yeah, that does sound pretty cool.